Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Ringwood South. And today is a bit of an impromptu live session. I wasn't going to do it today, but I kind of felt up to it, so I thought I will do it today. So today's theme is the Sherlock Holmes approach to railway modelling. The reason, let me just see what's going on first of all. Put that on. Hello David, welcome. So the reason for today's stream is actually for a subscriber. Hello Dundee Road and Philip Page, welcome to my stream. Like I said, it's a bit of an impromptu session tonight. I've got something to do tonight, and I wanted to help a fellow modeller. This particular video has been on the cards for a little while, and it's just finding the time to actually do it. So that's why we're doing this video today. And once again, it's called the Sherlock Holmes approach to railway modelling. So that's the theme. So the reason for this video is, like I've said in the past, many times, I've been, I had issues with Behringer and I asked for help and I got it, and this is a video in which I have an opportunity to help a fellow modeller. So there's three reasons for this video. One is to help this modeller who contacted me. Well, he didn't actually contact me, he just left a comment, and I felt that I could help them. Yes, it is. David Jones. And in fact, David Jones is also another reason why I'm doing this video. I had a conversation with him and he actually suggested a topic, and basically this is going to cover that topic. And also the third reason is I wanted to fit a decoder. And so what I wanted to do is I thought I'd start by sharing with you the comment that has prompted this video, and hopefully that will... Thank you. It's no problem, David. It is true. You are partially responsible for this video. Yes. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to read to you the comment, and then after, hopefully, you'll kind of get a bit of an idea of where this video is going to go. So this is a comment from Derby65, and he says, and the comment was, this is in relation to a video that I put up quite a while ago about my Hornby Class 60 sound fitting. And he said, I've fitted sound to my Hornby Class 60, but I don't seem to have any lights working, but they did on analog. Is this dependent on the controller? He asks. So that's what's prompted this video. So today I'm going to be fitting a decoder to a locomotive, and the said locomotive is a Hornby Class 56 Super Detail loco. Now, I did mention in my last video, and I did speak to David about this, that I fitted recently a decoder into my blue Class 56, and that turned out to be a little bit problematic. And I explained to him what the issues were and what I did to resolve it. And basically he said, oh, it's a pity you didn't do it in a video, because that probably would have been useful to somebody. So the crux of this video is the Sherlock Holmes approach to railway modelling is basically fault finding. And so I'm going to be fitting a decoder, a standard decoder, not a sound one, a standard decoder to my Class 56. And I'm just going to show you the ways in which I do it. And it's kind of a bit of a methodical way of doing it, but it's also a good way in which you have a base to work from. So without further ado, we'll get onto it. So the first thing I do, or what I'm doing, because also I did mention, well, it is true. Yes, so the first thing I need to do is Recently I did buy a Class 105 which turned out to be extremely problematic, in which case I sent it back. So from then onwards, and I've had issues in the past, I've decided that I'm going to do it in this way because it's a good way to do things. So I've got a Gauge Master. This is a Gauge Master analog controller. It's a walkabout controller, very cheap, very easy. I don't have my Morley controller anymore. I inadvertently blew it up. I'm not sure how or what happened to it. It's just dead. So luckily I had two of these. Even this one is defective, but my other one isn't. So I'm now let down to my last one. But the reason why I'm showing you this is because what I've done is I've made a quick release system. Hello Sparky, good evening, welcome to the stream. So what I've done is I've made a quick release system on my controllers and on my little piece of test track. And what it is it's to make life a lot easier in terms of testing trains straight from analog to DCC without having the whole farting around of having to mess everything, reconnect everything and unscrew this and rescrew that. So I've done it in such a way that it's quick release. So this is my Hornby Elite. I'm not really using it, I don't use it for layout anymore, but I am using it because I'm using it for this, also for my test track, and I'm also using it for the oval test track as well as the straight bit. Now, if I just show you what I've done to it, what I've done is I've added these two, what seem like normal chop blocks, but they're basically quick release chop blocks. And on the other end of that chop block is one of these chop blocks. And it's basically 2 pin, which you just slide into one and then you remove it and you slide it into the next one. So what this means now is that I can basically just connect any multitude of controllers, whether it be analog or DCC, to this quick release system into my test track without having too much hassle and wasting too much time having to screw things and, you know, sort things out. This connector also goes into here, and then that end goes as another quick release system into my oval test track, so I can then don't have to mess around with that as well, just plug it straight in and play. So that's what I've done there. So the first thing to do with my 56 is it's just over there, I don't know if you can see it, is I'm just going to test run the train and make sure the lights work. Well, Philip, these chop blocks that you usually get from model railway exhibitions, I've found, they're usually... Thank you, Dave. Yeah, you usually get the chop blocks from exhibitions. There's usually like one of those trade stands that you get at exhibitions that sell tools and all chips and things like that, and basically, you know, things to help you build your railway as opposed to like rolling stock and controllers and things. And like again, if I don't know, you can't really see it because on this end it kind of looks like a standard chop block, but it isn't, because what that does on this end, it basically, if I just show it to you, yeah, you can, yeah, exactly. So you can just plug these things in, and she says, just like that. Right, so just plug it in just like that, and then you can just quick release it. It's very, very simple. So that's just to make my life easier, basically, instead of me, because I'm constantly sort of having to put decoders into locomotives at the moment. Well, not constantly, but enough that it's just a bit frustrating. And also, I don't want to have to keep messing up the connections on the back here, because otherwise maybe one of the springs will break on the back here. So at least that way this can stay permanently attached. So that's the reason why I do it. So I'm just going to go over here, and all I'm going to do is just test the lights on it. And this is running on my analog controller. And all I'm doing is just running this 56 up and down, and just checking that the lights are working on both ends. So let's just, so I'm just checking, I'm just not monitoring the stream at the minute. Right, so it seems that my 56 on this end, the lights weren't working on it. They were working earlier, but they're not working at the moment. So we know that there's a fault before I put a decoder in. So this is what I mean. I'm now saying, so when I put the decoder in, I now know it's not, if it still doesn't work with the decoder, it's not a decoder issue because it wasn't working with the analog. So we now know there's already an issue. I suspect it's just a contact issue. So what we'll do is we'll start, because I've got to fit a decoder in it anyway. And we're going to start by, I'll tell you what we're going to start by doing. Let's see if this goes like that. Right, I think we're good. Just be careful not to press any buttons inadvertently. Right, so let's just clear the decks for a minute. This set of jewellery set I just got through Wilco's. Now on the 56 there's 4 screws. There's 2 at the front and 2 at the back, and the body should essentially lift off, she says. The problem is with the 56 is that you have to unscrew it and take the screw out via the bogey. Which is a bit frustrating. Oh, actually might pop out through here. Right, there goes one. Right, let's see about this one. Right, let's see if we can get this other one out. It needs to come out a bit more. I think it is out. Yep, that is out. That one's out as well. And then we do the other 2 on the other side. You guys talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I... Right, let's see if that one will go as well. It's really odd the way they've done this, because it really does chafe against the side of the bogey, which is really quite strange. It's going to drop at some point. This is what I'm saying. I mean, it should actually just fall straight out. Right, there it goes. Right, there's the 3rd one. It's all a bit fiddly. Now this is like those of you who've got a class 67. It's kind of that kind of method where you just undo the 4 screws. But for some reason these 4 screws on the 56 are like proper awkward. Let's see if we can. it will come out. It just needs a bit of coating. There it goes, there's the fourth one. Right. So, we've now unscrewed it. And it should just lift straight off. Aha, right, okay. Right. Right, so it's lifted out and there's our DCC socket, which is just over there, as you can see right there in the corner. And here are all the contacts for the lighting, here and here. And these, and you can see that these are spring-loaded. There's the contact. Hopefully it will come out, shows that it's all spring-loaded, and the same on that side. And these have been kind of like the bane of many 56s, why the lights don't work. And sometimes you have to prise these springs up to make sure that they make good contact, because if they don't, which side was it? It was this side. Sometimes if they don't make good contact, then they don't work. So, right. So one of the many, so if you've got problems with lighting like I have, one of the things is to check the connections, the springs on the end, to make sure that they are, sometimes they just need a bit of prising up, just to make sure they make contact with the contacts on the bottom here. And that's your first kind of bet. Usually, usually if you've got lighting issues, if they were working before, or they are working, or they're flickering, it's usually a sign that it's a bad contact. And sometimes it's just a matter of just fettling the springs and just readjusting them or poking them up a bit, just to make sure that they get good contact with it. So I'm just going to remove the decoder. Actually, this one comes off quite easily, which is nice. So I'm going to be fitting a, this is a Bachmann 8-pin decoder, which I'm going to be using. I have used Hornby ones, but I'd rather use Bachmann ones, to be honest. It's just about just getting it out, really. So bear with me a minute. Now you'd think that fitting a decoder should be a simple task, simple enough task, but the truth of the matter is, it isn't always as simple as that, unfortunately. Right, here we go, here's our decoder. Right, so that's it. So that's the number one. The number one is usually the orange. And in true Sherlock Holmes style, just to double check. Yeah, that is number one. So, a bit oddly, it's supposed to go like that. Gosh, I'm really making a pig's ear out of this. Right, that's it. Yes, right, we're in. That's it. Right, now with the Bachmann one, you get it's already insulated, it's already pre-insulated already. So you don't have to worry about that, which is quite good because actually Hornby did provide a sleeve for the chip, which I'll reuse probably on one of the TTS sound chips because for some reason TTS sound chips don't. So I'm just going to check now that it actually runs on DCC. So now's the time to reuse my quick release system. Bear with me a minute. Right. And make sure I plug it into the track. And now we check to see if she runs with the decoder first of all. Right, so she's running with a decoder, so that's okay. Right, so that's good. So now I know the decoder is good. Now what I wanted to do as well, if I have got it with me, let me just check. Let's hope it's here. Just leave that there for a sec. See if I've got my... Oh, I have got it here. Right, so... Let me get this thing out. It's always very tight. Right, so... This is a fiberglass pan. And I'm just going to run it over the contacts just to clean them so they give good conductivity. Which can be another source of issues with lighting. So I don't know if you can see that, but basically I'm just running the fiberglass pen on the contacts just to clean them up. I suppose you could just put the decoder in there, I suppose. Just trying to work it out where the best place to put it, but I guess it'd be, you could just leave it on the top there. Right, so just gonna do this. I'm just gonna put some electrical tape. Just to stop it from moving around a bit. That should just be about right. And I just want to chop that end off. That's it. Just so it doesn't cause a short. Because there's a little bit showing on that. Right, so now the other thing to note about putting the bodies on these things is when you put the body back on, if I just show you the screw, that is the screw, and that bit is the only bit, that bit on the end is the only bit that goes into the body, the rest of it doesn't. And you have to be so careful not to over tighten these, because if you over tighten these, what you do is you ruin the thread on the inside of the body. I'm just going to use a bit more tape, to be honest. Right. That's the same on this side. I don't know why I just didn't put all of it on the other donut. Never mind. Right, so that's all done now. So hopefully that will just sit where it needs to sit. I'm just going to run the fiberglass pen on the contacts of the body, which are the springs. Now the side that wasn't working was this side, but it was working earlier. And then hopefully we can slot this back. Now what I'm going to do is just test the lights, but I'm going to have to put some pressure on it to keep the body low to make sure that the contacts are doing its job. Right, so let's go. Sorry if I'm in the way, folks. Right, so that is still not working. Ah, it is now, right. Right, so it's now working. It wasn't working, but it is now working. Now the other thing is, it's like I said, you have to be so careful because you have to tighten it enough to make sure that the lights are working, but not over tighten it that it doesn't work. So it's one of those that you kind of got to be so careful with. So let's pop that in. Sorry, just trying to get the screw in the right way, but I think it's going to have to do. I did go it through the side before, but I think it's going to be better to do it with what I did before. It's so stupid the way that Hornby have done this. I don't know why they've done it like this, but they have. Basically, you have to put the screw in through the bogey. That's better. See now, it's gone straight in there. So I'm obviously unconscious about. Right, so getting this in, you must see if the other one will go, because I don't think the body's quite right. I think that's why that's the thing. It might just be that the body is not quite sitting right. This is another reason why lights don't work, because the body isn't sitting correctly. Still doesn't seem right. Let's see about the other side. Just try that one. See if that sits in properly. This is so strange why Hornby have done this. I just really don't understand. Right, that's probably a bit better. Well, that's definitely in. The trick is to tighten it as tight as you can without over tightening it. So that one's definitely in. This one on this side. Well, that seems to be in as well. Right, okay. Right, so let's make sure. I won't put the other two in. Just want to make sure I've got some results. Right. So this. It's definitely got some sort of lighting issue on the front of it. So we have to try this again. It didn't have it when I first actually checked it, to be honest. And I thought, oh great, it's fine. But it's definitely not happy. And it might very well be that I've moved the body slightly. So we'll have to have another go at this. Hi, hi everybody. So I'm not really monitoring the chat because my 56 has decided to give me some grief. So we're going to have to try again to see what the issues are with it. And with this one, I guess that's going to have to come through the bogey. This should really have been a simple case of unscrewing the 4 screws and it should have just worked. But unfortunately, 1, 2, oh there it is, right. Unfortunately, this number 2 end is proving a little bit problematic. So so what happened on my last one was that the end of it had a hole in it and pushed it right through, so it wasn't sitting correctly in the right position. Alright, and sometimes it's just a case of having to fiddle with it. So that's now let's see how we're going on this. Right, so that should be like that. Right. Let's try this again and see if it works this time. Right, okay. It is working. So I know it's not a fault with the actual unit itself or with the contacts. It's just the way that they're making contact with the actual it's just the way it's actually making contact with the actual unit itself. It's the contact between the chassis and the actual body. That's what's causing the problem. And like I said, it causes lots of problems because it's like, and for the life of me I can't understand why Hornby decided that it was a good idea to put these screws through the bogie. Oops, about to try and use a pen to do the screwdriver. So there it is. Bad light in here as well. Alright, so right, that's as tight as I dare do it. So please tell me the number 2 end that you're going to work, because I don't really fancy messing around again. Hey presto. She works. So now that's tightly secured on that end, it's now a matter of doing the other end. Like I said, these screws are so iffy because if you over tighten them, because they're so fine on the top, if you over tighten it, you ruin the thread on the body. Then what happens then is that the body doesn't sit correctly because it's now loose, which then means you'll never get your lights to work because the body won't be making proper contact with the actual chassis, and then the only way to get your lights to work is to hardwire it. I suspected that this was going to be like this on this one because my newer one, my 56084 was a newer version. That's got different contacts to these. It doesn't have these contacts, and there's a very good reason why they don't have these contacts. And but this particular one and my blue one have both got these spring-loaded ones, which is a real nightmare. Right, so that is as tight as I dare. One more test run and hopefully job's a good one. Right, job is a good one, as they say. So what we'll do is, well, I'll just take you off and I will show you directly. Right, here is my little 56, and this is the end that was causing me problems. So hopefully, if I just, there you go. So off she goes. That's oyster mouth. So if I just show you. Okay, we back. Are we all still with me? Oh, thank God. Are we all still with me? Yeah, it was a bit of a kerfuffle. Yeah, can you still hear me, guys? Yeah, good. Okay, right. For some reason, my internet, I think, dropped out. So, good. So I now have a fully functional, rather stressful, and this is what I mean. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, really, to put a decoder, this is what put me off DCC in the first place. Because it, you know, they make it sound like it's so simple, and all you do is you lift off the body and you just plug in a decoder, and hey presto, it works. And this is the whole reason for doing this video. This has taken me 45 minutes coming up to fit a decoder into this locomotive. And this particular locomotive only had 4 screws. That's it. It didn't have to have any clips or anything. And this is one of the easier ones to open. And yet it is still a complete nightmare. But we get there in the end. So basically, it is the Sherlock Holmes approach, where we sort of do test it on analog, make sure it's all working on analog, and then that way we can then work our way to see when it was working. So my lights weren't working properly on the analog to begin with, so I knew that even with the decoder, I knew it wasn't a decoder problem because it still wasn't working on analog. So that leads me to the contacts, because they were flickering, and I knew they were working prior to doing this. So I knew it was a contact issue, and it's a matter of readjusting the contacts, cleaning the contacts, and then refitting the body and making sure that the body is fitted correctly and that there's no gaps in the body. And we eventually do get there. I mean, if you have an issue with your 656, it's, you know, and this applies to class 60s, it applies to class 50s. That's why I haven't specifically done one, because I've actually got if you have a class 50 and you have this particular issue, there is a specific video that I've done on fixing the lighting on class 50s on my channel. So if you do have a 50 that's got lighting issues, there is a video out there that I put up years ago when I was over at Behringer. So, but it is still the same principle applies. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think I was beginning to think, you know, when you kind of get those rubber stamps with the red fail on it, and I was beginning to sort of think, oh, we're going to go down that road. And you know, in the end, we've got there, and I sort of know what it is. I mean, worst case scenario with these things is that if you do lose a spring, you can actually hardwire. I know people hardwiring it, but basically soldering directly to the tab and then soldering directly to the contact, and then that way you won't have any of these issues at all. But obviously then that makes it difficult to then get the body off, so you have to make sure that you give yourself enough wiring to be able to take the body off if you go down the hard wiring route. But for now, I have a class 56 ready to go back into service, and all its lights are all present and correct at the moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to leave it there, and I'm going to leave you, if I can, hang on one moment before I go. Yes, I'm going to leave you. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to leave you, before I go, I'm going to leave you with a saying from Sherlock Holmes. Whenever you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And that is the Sherlock Holmes approach to railway modelling, ladies and gentlemen. So good night from Ringwood South, and until the next time, goodbye. And just before I do go, I do have a 21-pin decoder to go somewhere. So I'm going to see where that's going to go. There's a few options on the cards for that one. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, good night. And once again, whenever you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains. So good night from Ringwood South. Bye-bye.